Hi, I'm Wakeman. I'm the host of this show, Life's Messy, Live Happy. I'm also the author of No Ego. One of the things I love to do is make sure that you, my viewers, are leading in the most modern, up-to-date way possible. I'm hearing a lot of folks talk about bringing your whole self to work, your most authentic self. And I love that concept, except when your most authentic self is full of drama. Now, when people say, I want to bring my whole self to work, I say, you know what? I'd rather you don't. Instead, I'd rather you bring your most evolved self to work. And that's what we're going to talk about on today's episode. I've been to some great conferences recently where people are talking about bringing your whole self to work. And I can't say I'm against that concept because at our office at Reality Based Leadership, we live full out. My people come with their full selves and we know a lot about each other and the wonderful lives we're leading. And we really work to value that whole person. But there's a glitch in this philosophy, and it's this: too many people are using bring your whole self to work as an excuse to bring their drama-filled self to work. Here's a great question I got from Carrie D. She writes, I have employees with some life situations and I want to accommodate them, but I still need to see results as my boss isn't letting me off the hook for our promised goals. How do I know when I'm helping or enabling them? And she is a great fan and knows I talk a lot about not enabling folks. So how do you stay a kind, caring, and loving manager that makes sure your staff knows that you care about them and you stay accountable for delivering on the results that you need to deliver on? One of my odd philosophies in life, or the way I explain the whole self versus the evolved self, is this idea of a toggle switch. See, I think that everybody has this invisible toggle switch on their forehead, and the same person at any given time of the day can be in low self, that's ego, venting, seeing themselves as a victim, or high self, that's expansive thinking, collaborative, innovative, accountable, and really working towards solutions. So toggle down, it's all about ego. It's all about seeing oneself as a victim of one's circumstances, that there's nothing I can really do, this is just happening to me. When you're toggled up, you're in a different part of your brain that sees all kinds of opportunities for you to have impact. Now, here's the deal, is that you can only be in one state at once. You can't be in both states at the same time. You're either in low self or high self. So I think a leader's role really is to work on this toggle switch of others. When they come in and they're venting, you just reach over and toggle switch them to self-reflecting so they see where they can have impact. When they come in and they're thinking that the world is victimizing them, it's just toggle switching them to say, what if you could impact the world? It's just a constant interaction where if I'm going to work with you, I want you to begin by being toggle switched up into your best self. If I try and work with you when you're toggle switched down into ego, we're not going anywhere except into resistance and victimhood and excuses. So the first thing a leader needs to do is, no matter what their staff is going through, toggle switch them into high self so we can really look at, given the circumstances, how can we accomplish great things together? So Carrie, when you talk about your staff having some life situations, I really want us as leaders to be caring and kind and understanding. We're working with people through their whole lives, and people do have situations that come up, but situations don't need to become excuses. When people say, I've got a lot going on at home and I can't help but bring that to work, I challenge them. Just because you have a lot going on doesn't determine your productivity at work. You determine your productivity at work. So let me give you an example I found myself in on the same day. Crazy situation. In the morning, one of my most high accountable employees asked to meet with me. And she shared with me privately, she said, I don't usually want to talk about what's going on in my personal life, but I need to let you know I'm going through a really messy divorce, and I'm really scared about the custody arrangement we'll end up with. And I'm worried that I might be distracted while here at work. And so I wanted to meet with you to give you full permission to really be hard on me, to really not give me the benefit of the doubt. If you worry that I've forgotten something, bring it up. I'm not to be trusted completely right now, and I want to make sure I don't miss a beat at work. So you have permission to really be upfront and call me to greatness often. That afternoon, another employee came in and said, "Sai, I need some time." And I said, "No problem. You look like you're really struggling today. What's going on?" She said, "Well, I'm going through a really horrible divorce. And so I just wanted to let you know that, because I just wanted to give you a heads up to not expect a lot of me at work." See, she was someone who lived in low accountability. Now, the crazy thing about this same day, 2 divorces, was the difference in approaches. See, one person came to me to make sure that I would help them stay productive. The other person came to me to let me know why they wouldn't be productive. And therein lies the answer to your question, Carrie. Having life situations doesn't let you off the hook at work. If you're going to stay working through your life situation, it's the very time for you to grow in resiliency, for you to grow in managing tough situations, for you to really move through life at your highest level of consciousness. And that's why I want leaders to call people to greatness, not to be hard on them or to ignore their personal life, but to teach and grow people to understand that no matter what is going on in your circumstances, you can stay centered, you can be toggled into high self, you can do great things. Today, I'm talking with Pam Bourne. She's a labor employment attorney, but probably not the type you're familiar with. She's proactive. She works with clients to create healthy workplaces. I think you're such a special guest for the people that are tuning in today, because so many folks get so confused about the common excuse of, "I would like to have an honest conversation," or "I would like to performance manage my team, but I can't because," and then they cite HR and legal. That's where we first bonded.
Like there's a breakdown in communications.
Yeah.
I hear it a lot.
Because we're craving that they would do that. We're like, please do that.
Talk. You know, it's always interesting when I hear people say, legal won't let us do this. Legal won't let us do this. The number one thing I think of is, then you're not communicating with legal.
Yeah.
There's a breakdown.
There's a breakdown.
Because if you have an
They should be your
effective legal
partners.
team, they're your partner. You should understand what the strategy is. And I'll tell you, for the most part, I'll work with people and say, you know what, you may need a certain strategy. We need to get there, but we've got to also put ourselves in the best position should a claim arise, which means we got to do it smart. We always have to do it lawfully. And sometimes we're not perfect in how we do it. We may not document well, we may not follow, A, B, C, D, but we can get you to the outcome you need. When I hear people say, legal says we can't do this, many times it's because there's a reason. That's exactly it. Many
they
times,
won't make up for our lack of documentation.
You got it. Or
they won't bail me out, but they will help you out. They won't bail you out.
Correct. And so there's a lot of frustration when sometimes it's the whole accountability. Yeah. What have we done wrong that gives legal the pushback to say that's not the best opportunity for us?
What do you help people with the most when you are your daily practice as an attorney? Have we covered it? Like, what is your 911 call where people are like, "Hey, I got your name from a friend"?
Yeah. Well, I was just going to tell you, but we're so connected from the standpoint of the majority of calls that I get.
Yeah.
When I look at them over a 10-year period, I'm going through, I'm looking at what are the themes. It seems people spend so much time on problem employees.
They really do.
People, they just, it's that insanity of we're going to keep trying and we're going to keep trying and we're going to keep trying.
What is that about? Because we know from the research that the average manager spends 80 hours extra a year on a resistant, poor performing employee. And the odds of them changing are like 0. But people spend so much time wanting to make a poor performer better. Do you have any insight? What do you think it is?
I honestly believe that sometimes people believe it's like you're a reflection upon me. If I can't make you succeed, I have failed because their ego's involved.
Their ego's involved.
And it's a matter of separating that and saying, you know what? you're a really talented person, but your skill set just doesn't align with this job. And an effective manager will identify people who don't align with what the position requires.
Or with the organization, where people are just consistently resisting where the organization's going. And aren't most states employment at will, or what's the mix? Are we just lucky here?
Absolutely.
Because so many people are
the
like,
vast majority.
I have to fire for cause. I'm like, no, you don't. You just have to terminate fairly. Like, I mean, you have to just do it cleanly.
Right. Well, I think there's kind of a misnomer. I think people think there's the broad spectrum. Well, I have to, like, for cause, I got to come up with all of these reasons. And the other end of it is I'm at will, so that's all I have to rely on.
Yeah.
And I think what people realize is that, or fail to realize, is that when you're at will, you can discharge an employee for any reason or no reason, as long as it's not unlawful.
Yeah.
And so it's that last line of you still have to have a reason.
Yeah, for their age or their gender or their ethnicity or who they love or who they worship.
Exactly. You still have to be able to explain what you've done. So when we hear people go, well, I don't tell my employees why I terminated them, I'm like, you've missed the mark.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you be open and honest with people?
Why
because it makes them feel wondering, like, it must have been unlawful. Yeah. But there's still employers out there who believe that you should just tell people we've decided to part ways.
I believe that if you don't have the courage to do that, you're not evolved enough to let somebody go, because you've got to have thought through all those avenues yourself to make sure you're making the right decision. When I'm looking at if somebody's a match here, it's like I want to do a sorting. It's like, are they aligned with the organization? Are they trustworthy with my team? Do they act according to our values and integrity? And do they have the skills we need right now in the job? And any one of those things is, the reason why. But a lot of people, I think, don't do that follow through. Right. I love that you help people like with what I call better math. People always look at the cost of like potentially letting somebody go instead of the math of keeping them. Because a lot of times you keep somebody in a bad position that they aren't a fit for, and you cost the company tons of money and time and in focus.
Absolutely.
And so we tend to do the math that feeds our ego and prevents us from having to do the courageous thing, instead of the math of, if I have this person here for the next 5 years, here's what really the true cost of their employment is. So it's like helping them do the math. I was talking on this episode about a concept I'm hearing a lot out in the HR world, and it's all about like bringing your whole self to work and your most authentic self to work. And when I first heard that, I was a little aghast, because I don't think there's parts of yourself you should even bring to your life. So when people are saying bring your whole self to work, I'm like, no, bring your evolved self to work. So when I think about that from a legal perspective, sometimes people are really using this to get informal at work. And like, are you seeing any repercussions of this whole bring your whole self to work issue?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Especially when we're talking about the Me Too and harassment. Many times I'll hear people go, I spend more time with the people I work with than my own family. So, I let my guards down. I talk about personal situations, personal facts. And coworkers are like, we're uncomfortable by this.
Yeah. And I think that it takes an evolved person to find ways we can connect, still having professional boundaries, that we don't have to connect in our drama or our woes, because that's the first place, that's a low level of connection, right?
Absolutely.
So people really connect like with our drama and with our woes. And I feel, if I can tell you kind of what's the drama in my life is, and you can connect, that's ego level connection. We've got to teach people that fine art of working in open environments, closed environments, where you can connect, but still maintaining your most positive, evolved, professional self, as I like to say, with an eye towards respect of others' space, of others' values and beliefs. And what I find is that it gets back to some basics. If you listen more than you speak, if you work harder, if you seek to understand more than be understood, it puts you off the performance that happens. Sometimes people are just performing these open environments, kind of on stage, and it's their shtick. And that's an identity of the ego. But if you can sit back and just become a beginner's mind, student of the universe, and really just observe how it goes on with a focus, instead of judging, like, how can I help? That alone puts you in a better place to not be offensive to people. Like, no one's offended with how can I help? That one line can take anything and move it into a better conversation. And I think that maybe that's the assignment we give folks as we wrap up is get really aware of the situations that happen in your workplace that are the first sign of things going to a disrespectful place, and coming up with your line, your go-to statement where you can just say something positive, set a boundary, redirect the energy back to respect and work and things going forward. And if that doesn't work, then don't keep it silent. Have productive conversations with people that can help up to and including yourself. Anything you want to leave people with?
No, I think that's absolutely right, but I think we have to remember, many times our frontline managers are the ones that need this knowledge.
Yeah.
They are the ones who can really
That's a good
impact the
point.
workplace, where we spend a lot of time of our executive teams and our senior level managers. Sometimes we have to remember the ones that are having those day in and day out conversations with employees and really affecting our culture and seeing what's going on. Whether it's poor performance or it's the Me
That's
Too
so
movement
true.
and harassment,
That's so
you know,
true.
what are we doing to show that we're calling people to greatness?
Pam, it's such a pleasure. Thank you for coming by.
having me.
And like I said, you're just my go-to person. When anything starts getting messy, I'm like, I think we should call Pam. She will help us with this. So thank you for all the help over the years. I can't tell you the number of clients who absolutely adore you. So
Happy to do it and so greatly appreciate it.
thank you.
Thank you.
I am so happy you found this video. And since you're at the end of it, it tells me you love the content. Come on, you guys. Let's blow this channel up. Like, you know, everyone you know at work needs to be watching these videos. So find a really nice way to share, share, share.